Welcome to our Insight series on organizational well-being. Our question for this week is, how can you be sure that your employee wellness program will produce long-term health behavior change? Number 37. How can you be sure that your employee wellness program will produce long-term health behavior change? First of all, most employee wellness programs do reasonably well at changing short-term health behaviors, and that's oftentimes considered to be somewhere in the area of 2 to 6 weeks of behavioral activity or compliance. But they usually do poorly at changing long-term health behavior, and we really consider that as anything beyond 2 to 12 months of duration. The second point is that most employee wellness programs do very poorly at creating long-term health behavior change because they do not focus enough on the formation of long-term habits. They also make the mistake of assuming that education and some limited behavioral experience will lead to long-term habit formation. It just doesn't. The third point that I'd like to share with you is in order to be sure your program is producing as much long-term behavior change as possible, you have to make some specific changes to your programming strategy. First, you have to deeply embrace the AMSO construct throughout your programming. AMSO stands for the following key features. Your program, in order to be successful at long-term behavior change, needs to have a repeatable periodic method for raising the awareness of personal health and wellness issues for each employee. We oftentimes use a health risk assessment and/or screening to help build and achieve that awareness. The M in AMSO stands for the ability to augment what limited intrinsic motivation already exists in the work population, in the work group involved. And that usually means we have to use an extrinsic form of motivation. And those are things like incentives, the ability to lower your health plan premium by participating is one of the best incentive strategies we can use. So that means that my program has to have, in addition to a way of building awareness about the person's own particular issues in health and wellness, I also have to have a method for raising the general level of motivation around participation in the program and doing the various wellness activities. The third part of AMSO, the S, stands for the ability for my program to have a way of transferring the skills that go along with these new wellness behaviors. What does it take to, for instance, eat healthy or exercise on a regular basis or begin to reduce tobacco use or handle my stress differently? So for each of the targets that I'm going to focus my program on, I need to have a way of giving and extending those skills that are necessary with the new behavior. The O in AMSO is the opportunity to practice those new skills and that new behavior. So if I don't have adequate thought given to helping people structure those opportunities to practice, then I'm going to not have the level of long-term health behavior change that is really important for wellness programs to be effective. Our higher order results in terms of wellness programs don't come without being able to achieve these long-term habit formation steps. The fourth point is this useful construct developed by Michael O'Donnell, a practitioner of health promotion and editor of the American Journal of Health Promotion in the past, needs to be integrated deeply into each of your programming targets. And the targets are essentially those things like physical activity, good nutrition, being able to have good sleep habits, using seat belts. It varies depending on the needs of the population, but those are behavioral targets. We then match those behavioral targets with specific accompanying interventions. And that means that this AMSO construct, the AMSO, has to be integrated into each of those targets and their accompanying interventions. The fifth issue that has to do with assuring your employee wellness program will produce sufficient long-term health behavior change is there needs to be a very strong general incentive for participation in the employee wellness program. From our research literature, we know that if people don't participate in the program, they're not likely to change their behavior. I have found personally that at $600 to $1,800 of financial benefit is required to get 80% plus participation levels. Now, I have been able to achieve 96 to 98% participation levels over multiple years, but it's not without using this form of premium discount on health insurance. And this means also that I don't have to budget for this. The employer does not have to come up with the money if in fact you use a premium contribution level that is added to the funding of the health plan coverage. So that's usually the best way that we can do. We can actually get a very high level of return on investment because this $600 to $1,800 is not really part of the ROI calculation because these are employee dollars, not employer dollars. The sixth point in terms of assuring long-term behavior change is there needs to be enough real novelty to the program, things that attract people to produce authentic engagement. They're not just in it for the money. There actually needs to be novelty in the program that brings interest on the part of employees and involvement. The seventh point is that group and team competition needs to be used to maximum advantage. That's one of the things that brings usually much higher levels of participation when we form groups and we have teams that compete with each other. The eighth issue is that all levels of management need to be visibly participating in your wellness program and strongly supportive of the program. The ninth issue is as much recognition of health and wellness achievements as possible needs to be carried out. We generally don't use recognition enough, and usually people are suffering from a lack of recognition. So we want to design various recognition activities into our wellness programs, and we'll be talking about that in future videos. The 10th issue is that the programming should include campaign strategies rather than just single event or single mention of issues. We can't just say to people, this week is Healthy Liver Week, and expect a lot of behavior change around eating patterns and alcohol use and so on. We need to have campaigns, and campaigns usually include some upfront education and information. That's creating awareness. We then give them some opportunity for self-testing or testing in terms of actually scheduling screening activities. And then intervention, help with the new skill acquisition and the ability to structure those opportunities to practice. And then a refresher or a revisit to the issue down the road. And those campaigns are often 3 to 4 months long. So those produce more behavior change than simply telling people that it is, Healthy Liver Month or Healthy Liver Week. So in summary, employee wellness programs tend to be good at stimulating short-term health behavior change, but very bad at producing long-term behavior change. And that is required for particularly the higher order kinds of results like claims effects and effects on specific measures that come out of biometric screening. Wellness programs need to use a handful of specific programming strategies to improve their long-term behavioral effectiveness. One of the most important programming strategies is really the use of that AMSO construct. Now, for more information on this topic, put the following search strings into your web browser: requirements for long-term behavior change, changing health behavior, and long-term health behavior change. Next week, we will be addressing the question, why do many senior managers think wellness is not important? For more information on this topic, please search on the web for the WellCert program.